Welcome back. 9 days until Election Day, 4 days now from our rescheduled state Supreme Court debate. A new Marquette Law School poll out this past week showing nearly half of all likely voters in Wisconsin say they hadn't made up their minds yet in the state Supreme Court race. Beyond that, 30% said they'll vote for Chris Taylor, the Liberal-backed candidate, and 22% Maria Lazar, the Conservative.
Charles Franklin is the Marquette Law School poll director, and he joins us now. As always, Charles, it's good to see you.
Good to be here.
We're going to get to the polling here in just a moment, but let's start with this rescheduled debate. You watch a lot of things politically. Is it safe to assume that this is pretty unusual? Kidney stone diagnosis just hours before the debate.
Very unusual. I can't think of a debate that has been postponed this way because of a health emergency for a candidate. Obviously, those things do happen, but I can't remember one happening that rescheduled a debate at either the state or the national level.
So, Charles, as we now do look ahead to Thursday, the poll asked voters if they have a clear understanding of where the candidates stand on the issues. And about a half for Chris Taylor and half for Maria Lazar said they didn't really know yet. So with this debate, their only debate, it's going to only be 5 days from the election. That's really not a lot of time anymore for voters to make up their minds.
Not very much, and with early voting beginning, a fair number of voters will go ahead and cast those ballots without seeing the debate. I think that we've seen these candidates be less visible than previous Supreme Court candidates were at least the last couple of court elections. The only bright spot here is that more people have a clear idea now than they did a month ago. It's just that it's still a minority of voters that really think they understand what either candidate is for.
And is that directly related to the money spent?
I think it is. I think we see in multiple questions that we ask that people tuned in late to this campaign. And I think a lot of that is that if you're not deeply into politics, one of the ways you find out about an election upcoming is to have your favorite TV program interrupted by a campaign commercial. We all hate the campaign commercials, but they are a way that less involved voters find out about the race and then maybe start watching news stories about it or reading about it.
Yeah, you talk about voters getting involved in this race later than in the past. Broadly, how much attention are Wisconsinites paying to this race, and how different is it than what we saw last year when we saw record spending in the state Supreme Court race?
Yeah, in this poll this month, just 12% say they've read or heard a lot about the campaign. Now, that's up from just 6% a month ago, so they are a little more tuned in. But a year ago, it was 39% in February who had heard a lot.
With the debate on Thursday, what will you be watching for?
I think how do they frame the issues? How do they respond to the questions you ask when they try to reframe that from their perspective? Taylor wants to talk about rights and protecting those rights. Lazar wants to talk about upholding the rule of law and not making law from the bench. Those themes surely will be things they will want to talk about. However, whatever your questions are, those will be the themes I expect they'll want to get out.
Charles, let's quickly ask about Iran before you leave. This first real snapshot of what Wisconsin voters are feeling. 61% said they disapprove of the U.S. military attacks. 39% approve in your poll. Break this down for us broadly. And are we seeing a big difference between Republicans, Democrats, Independents on this?
Yeah, this response to the war is very close to in line with what we're seeing in national polling in the last week or so as well. Roughly a 60-40 split. We're at 61-39. Republicans quite supportive. 75% of Republicans approve of the war, though 24% disapprove. So there's a little bit of a split within the GOP. But 73% of independents and a whopping 97% of Democrats disapprove. Republicans who call themselves MAGA supporters are even more supportive. 88% support the war. But among those Republicans that don't think of themselves as favorable towards MAGA, that support crumbles, and 72% of those non-MAGA Republicans oppose the war.
Charles Franklin, Marquette Law School poll director. Charles, great to have your insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, the new money, what a difference a year makes, a dramatic shift from last year's state Supreme Court race, and a new deadline now just hours away. WIS Politics' J.R. Ross with his new reporting next.